Now I intend to describe some of the individual skills and show why I've grouped them the way I have. Up here I have the standard attacks that you can be using all the time. Jedi Knights have this nice little skill where it allows them to leap to the enemy. It also will do serious damage, and it'll immobilize a weak or normal target, and it also builds up focus. Focus is the energy you use on these specialized attacks. You have to build up focus. It would be called rage on a warrior in World of Warcraft, or perhaps energy on a rogue type character, but in Jedi Knights they call this the focus, this special power component, focus. And you have to build up focus, which you consume when you use these specialized attacks. So let's start discussing each individual skill, and then as I go along, I'll explain why I've put them where I have. These toolbars over here on the right are typically buffs or stat enhancements of some sort. You have your Jedi Knight buff. I put a couple of healing stims. They're similar to healing potions. So during the fight, if you're getting too low on health, you can click on one of these and it'll restore some portion of your health. This is a stim that enhances your stats. When you give a shot, this particular stim increases your endurance, and endurance is the thing that determines how much health bar you have. So this increases your health bar basically. This is a skill that you use during battle that reduces the amount of damage you take, and it deals a little bit more damage to the people that you're fighting. It lasts for 6 seconds. That's why you just use it when you're in the middle of a battle. And this is a way to generate focus really fast. But I'm not sure what centering is. You're supposed to convert 30 stacks of centering to enter a Zen state, which instantly generates 4 focus, and then a little bit more focus over time. Remember, focus is the resource we consume for those special attacks. I do not know what centering is, so I don't know how to activate that skill. This is a short-acting buff that allows you to absorb a little bit of melee and range damage. It's basically similar to a shield bubble. This is a skill which allows you to break root or other immobilizing effects. And this is sprint. This should be on all the time unless you're walking on purpose for role-playing games, or you're walking a tight wire and you don't want to go too fast. Other than that, you would just leave sprint on. It just makes you run at a more reasonable speed. Here you have heroic moment. Oh, by the way, in the previous video I complained about this toolbar obscuring the messages, so I've set its alpha and a little bit lower, and it's more transparent now. Anyhow, I'll describe how to do that later. It's in the interface editor, and I don't want to get too deeply into that this early in the game. So right now, the heroic moment is a nice buff that increases your health regen real fast during a battle, but you have to have a pet or a companion accompanying you to use it. Additionally, it'll give you specialized skills from each of the classes which you have completed their story. So when you complete a class story, you'll not only get a buff for that class that you can use on any of your characters, but you'll also get one of their prime attack skills. So it gives you more attacks. That is to say, a Jedi Knight could use a Sith, rather like a Empire um, operation. I can't remember what they're called. They're like spies. You could use one of his skills to attack also. So as you get all these different characters up into their class storyline, you'll get an additional attack spell appropriate to that class, which is not usually used by your class. That's later. You've got several levels to go before you finish your class story. So the additional special benefits of Heroic Moment will just have to wait. Right now it's mainly just a way to regenerate health really fast. Over here on this side I put utility spells that aren't used usually during battle. Here's her speeder, her sportster. So she can zip around, goes faster than going on foot. Right click to turn it off. This is her racial social skill. Most of the racial social skills are not very useful for anything except, just something to look at, like dancing. But this racial social skill actually does the same thing as this one. This is a real skill, and it's called meditate. So between battles, if you're low on health, you can click this and regenerate your health very quickly. This one does exactly the same thing. I'll demonstrate later. This is your fleet pass. You click on that, and it'll take you directly to the fleet where you can take care of serious business. This is a skill that allows you to revive your pet, and this is a skill that allows you to revive your dead friends. Over here we have your standard instant attack, moderate damage, but it's always available to you. This is a stronger attack. It's also instant, but it has a cooldown of about 15 seconds. So you can use it once and then you can't use it again for 15 seconds. It's a pretty powerful little offensive spell. This is a very powerful offensive spell and has an 18-second cooldown. This is probably the most iconic Jedi Knight skill there is. This allows you to leap to the enemy, stunning him, doing damage, and gets you there fast. These spells, Slash and Blade Storm, are spells that require focus to consume. I'm not real familiar with it. Slash is a powerful melee attack, another instant attack, but you have to have focus to use it. And Blade Storm is kind of a combination force attack as well as having a weapon component. These two skills over here are what are called AoEs, Area of Effect skills. These skills will attack multiple targets. That is to say, anybody in the area, any enemy in the area will become attacked. So that way you can take out or hurt several enemies at the same time. It's not a very powerful attack, but when you apply it times 8, it becomes extremely powerful. Because instead of you're doing the same amount of damage this one would do to an individual, but you're doing it to 8 characters, 8 enemies. This is a force attack, and it also acts as a stun. Here again, you need to have focus build up in order to use it. This is your quick travel tool, which allows you to get around very quickly, returning to certain bind points like the cantina or what have you. Its cooldown is 6 minutes currently, but depending on your legacy perks, it can be reduced even further, but that's pretty fast. 6 minutes is a pretty short cooldown for that. So those are the main skills in a nutshell. You can see that I grouped the AoEs and I grouped the instant attacks in such a way. I'm inclined to put this one up here too, Oh, by the way, when you right-click a target, that is the same thing as pressing the number 1 button. Plus, these numbered buttons means that you can also use the numbers on your keypad or keyboard to activate these skills. I'm turning on auto loot. It's a little bit quicker. Every spell has its range. This one, if I have to get close enough to where it lights up, or I can't use it. You'll see that there's a little message up here that says out of range, move closer. So I had enough focus at the beginning of the fight where I was able to use these two skills as well. And you saw right at the end there, I used this one and it did a forced blast, similar to a Jedi Counselor type of a spell. I also want to remind you that you have some of these skills. Let's try this one out before we attack. This one will put a shield bubble around me, which should reduce the amount of damage that I'm taking. So I have a little bit of force built up, so I can use this specialized attack. That's a very powerful attack. So when you don't have enough force, you have to use these attacks until you build it up. I'm a little bit wounded, so I'm going to meditate. Actually, I'm using the social skill version of it. You saw that I meditated using the social skill version. Unlike the Consular's Shield Bubble, this is a very long cooldown of 3 minutes. So save it for your elites. Don't use it on these easier monsters. See, this one has a longer cooldown. And that one is a combination of melee and force, where you're whacking the heck out of them with your lightsaber as well as projecting a strong force blast at them. Very powerful, potent spell. And you see also when I use these up, I built up my energy and these two skills became available. As I stand here talking, my energy is decreasing, or my focus is decreasing, and they will eventually gray out again, and we'll have to use things to build it back up. I should move this one because this one is also dependent on the force. So I might like to try to arrange them like this, where the skills that need have force are here by the together, and that the skills that don't are here. My impulse is to put this on the number 1, but that's dangerous because if I right click and target, I will jump to him when I may not have intended to. Going to work until I build up enough force to use that leg slap, or yeah, it's built up. So we'll use the leg slap. Oh, that had to hurt. That must have stung something fierce. A little bit low on health, so we're going to meditate. But those are pretty fast acting. So that's kind of a general overview of your main attacks. Now we've got to go find some monsters that are together so we can use our AoE attacks. Here are a couple of wandering Horanths. I'm going to try some AoE spells on them if they won't die too quickly. Big problem with the rapid leveling is that we're now vastly overpowered for the monsters that we're fighting, but we haven't made it all the way through our class story because we are still training the rudiments of the game. It's very poorly thought out. WoW did it, now Star Wars is doing it. All these things because of a mature player base. They just want to let people run their characters up, level them up quickly, but it doesn't give newbies an opportunity to develop their skills. So let's go do this. Since I don't know what's going to happen exactly, I'm going to go ahead and bubble up. It seems that these skills also require focus. Yes, they require focus, but in my effort to build up focus, I killed them before I could use my AoE. I'm going to go try to find some more powerful mobs. Well, I just spent the last half hour making a movie without hitting the record button, so I'm not sure exactly where I left off in my little description of the skills. But to recap, these grayed out skills require force. And in order to build up force, you have to use these skills right here. So I took myself to this heroic area, which should require 2 people to successfully achieve, but I'm so vastly over level right now that there won't be any real issue here. So let's go ahead and demonstrate, in this case, the AoE spells. But I'll have to use these spells in order to build up force so that I can use these. And using the leap gave me some fast force. Well, I took a bit of a whooping, but I can meditate that out real fast. These next few fights, there are 2 separate groups. They don't group up nicely together. You have a very short range on your AoEs, so we're going to have to take them 2 at a time. This is a reason why force or melee players like to run from battle to battle really fast, so they can take advantage of the energy they have before it goes away. Whereas casters typically like to prepare between each fight. And make themselves ready for the next one.